Hey there, good evening, and welcome back to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I'm the host of this show. This is a show that is dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back at our Battle of the Bands. For those of you who are unaware what that is, we are doing, for the month of March, we're doing a Battle of the Bands, hard rock bands, to see who's going to be the chosen champion at the end. And we're doing it in a specific way. We're not necessarily picking big name hard rock bands. We're picking more a lot of second-rate bands to try and, I don't like to use the word second-rate, below the top-rate bands. Like, these are maybe tier 2 bands that maybe never caught the break that they deserved, or didn't have the right producer, or the album didn't come out at the right time, or maybe it was too far ahead or too far back. Something kept them back from reaching that status that all hard rock bands are trying to reach: popularity and commercial success, along with some real great songs. However, these bands all have some really great songs. The battle today, no different. A couple of really strong albums again. A difficult task for me once again to figure out which one I like the most. And the two albums that are combating today in this battle are Dave Evans' Judgment Day. Dave Evans was the original singer for AC/DC, so he's obviously from Australia. And the other band that he's facing is Iggy Pop and his album Instinct. Now, Judgment Day came out in 2008. Iggy Pop's album in 1988, so there's a 20-year gap there. But both have good quality production, both have good sound to them. So we'll talk about Dave's album first, since it was the first on the list. So Dave, vocals are very powerful. If you have never heard Dave Evans, he has a very strong, gruff, almost a metal-like voice. And a lot of this album is really hard rock, but there's a couple of songs on here that have passed the line and are metal songs, in my opinion. But really strong album, lots of really killer riffs, catchy beats, and Dave Evans, of course, is the dominating factor on all these songs. His vocals are very strong on every track. For those of you who haven't heard him, I don't think he really sounds like Bon Scott. For those of you who are thinking that he and Bon Scott are going to sound alike because they both sang in the same band, he's a lot heavier of a vocalist. His screeching, heavy vocal part, and he's more of a in-your-face front man, where I think Bon Scott is more crafty and has that kind of unique sound to his voice, and was one of those frontmen that just knew how to play to the audience. He was so good that way. This guy is very powerful, though. He's a really strong voice. So there's 10 tracks on this album. I listened to the entire album once. Very good album, solid. A couple of tracks stood out for me. The first one, We Don't Dang to Your Song. We Don't Dance to Your Song. Sorry, dang to your song. We Don't Dance to Your Song. Killer track, really heavy guitars, lots of catchy riffs. This album has a lot of that kind of really heavy stuff to it. And the other two songs I really like are the Judgment Day and Hell of a Night, both really kind of passing that upper echelon of hard rock into metal. They had a metal sound to them, these two songs, I think. Really strong as well. I really like the Judgment Day song quite a bit. Pretty strong guitar riffing, and his that metal sound and his screeching voice are just off the charts. I don't mind his voice. A lot of metal guys kind of get on my nerves a bit, that screeching part, but he has that kind of gruff exterior to his voice that really adds to the song without actually taking away from your ears. And then the last song on the album is my favorite, House of the Rising Sun. Yes, it's a Doors cover, but he does such a good version of it. Like, we won't mistake these two for being, like, he's not trying to imitate the Doors at all here. The song is clearly the House of the Rising Sun, but he does it in a much heavier way. But it's not like a lot of the songs on this album have that kind of speed metal sound to them. Speed hard rock, I guess. But there are a couple tracks that are kind of more laid back, like not as heavy, or more of a slow, methodical sound to them. And this song, he does that in that way. And he does a tremendous version on it. I think it's his best vocals on the album. And he really nails it. But he doesn't just reproduce what Jim Morrison did. Now, Jim Morrison is a vocalist extraordinaire, in my opinion. But he doesn't try to compete with that. He does his own thing, brings his own vocal style and their heavy sound to the song. That's really quite a good cover of this song. And I'm not big on covers, but he does a good cover on it. So anyways, the second album, sorry, just going to change my boards around so I can review my notes if I need to. So the second album is Iggy Pop, Instinct. Now Iggy Pop, to me, most of the stuff I've listened to by Iggy Pop, and I've listened to quite a bit, is very punky, very screechy, like fast paced. This album isn't like that. It's a really hard rock album. Just load it with catchy riffs and hooks. The whole album is this way. Just every song has a catchy riff to it and a catchy hook to it. Just for notes, for people that don't know this, Steve Jones is the guitar, or one of the guitar players on the album. I think there might be two, but he's one of them. And for those of you who don't know who he is, he was the Sex Pistols guitar player. So when you see that combination, you see Iggy Pop and Steve Jones on an album together, you're thinking it's going to be really a real punky album, and it's not like that at all. I think actually Dave Evans' album has got a little bit of a more punky element to it than this album. This album is just straight hard rocking, crashing songs, and not really fast paced, which Iggy Pop is kind of known for. This is more slowed down, and it's not slow, but it's slowed down metal. Well, not metal either. It's slowed down hard rock. I think Iggy does a really good job on the vocals on this album. There's 2 or 3 tracks on here. He has that real Bowie sound to his voice. He always has that Bowie sound to his voice, but a couple of tracks really strong on the Bowie sound. My 2 favorite tracks, well, my 3 favorite tracks. The last 2 tracks, Tough Baby and Squarehead. I like Squarehead because it's more of a heavy riff, but the song builds to that heavy riff. It doesn't start out crashing. Tough Baby has got that really kind of bass guitar riff that starts it out, and then he has that Bowie sound to his voice really strong on this. And then the first track, Cold Metal, which I believe was the single on the album. Real heavy track, real heavy riff. He's fantastic on it. I actually watched the live version of him singing the song. He does a great job on it. And it's between those 3 songs for my favorite. Some of the other stuff is pretty strong too. Strong Girl, Power and Freedom, Lowdown, Instinct, Easy Rider, Tom Tom, High on You. That's just about everything. Like, the album is just, there are no weak tracks on this album. They're all strong, lots of catchy riffs, lots of strong guitar. Not a great deal of great guitar solo, just that real heavy riffing and just catchy ones throughout the whole album. So overall, the Iggy Pop album is more consistently the same throughout the album. Like, the album starts in a fashion, stays pretty much with that fashion the whole album. Pretty heavy, nice hard rockin' album. Not much variation on any of the songs, just really solid riffing. The Dave Evans album, it's got some variations. It's got some real hard rock songs, a couple of heavy metal tracks, great version of House of the Rising Sun, fantastic kind of slow and methodical stuff as well. And he's got a couple of songs in there that are real punky sounding songs. yeah, overall he's a little bit more varied all and different. It's a real tough battle here. I just think that overall I think I enjoyed the Iggy Pop album more. I don't know if the Iggy Pop album may have reached its climax already. It's hard to tell. It's kind of similar to the first battle with Buffalo. Same thing. They kind of maybe reached their pinnacle right off the bat, like just caught my attention right away. But the other album, I think, Master's Apprentice, had more potential, and I think Dave Evans' album has more potential as well. However, I just think that Iggy Pop album really surprised me at how good it was. Like, I always liked Iggy Pop, but not quite as much as I liked this particular album. So, as much as it pains me, I don't like to kick Dave Evans to the side, because I think this album could really go on to do something here. But I'm going to have to go with Iggy Pop today. I hope that doesn't offend my Australian friends or anybody out there who's a big fan of his. Great battle, real tough choice. Just I went a little different on this one than I did on the first battle. I just think that I think what it really boils down to is I just want to hear more of the Iggy Pop stuff. I heard the one listening. I think I'd like to hear some more of it. So he's going to move on to round 2, and Dave Evans will have to come back and try again. But yeah, neither of these are bad at all. Like if you like that kind of hard rockin', borderline metal stuff, this Dave Evans album is a great album, and you'll really like the House of the Rising Sun. I really like that quite a bit. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Battle of the Bands. We'll be back on day 3 with another Battle of the Bands, and I didn't mention that this is day 2 for those of you who... March 2nd, day 2, album battle number 2. Tomorrow, it will come out in the morning. Then we will do battle 3 on March the 3rd, day 3. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. And we'll be back again. Take care. Goodbye.